Hello guys, welcome back to Alfonso's phone collection. Something's gonna happen in the future of my phone collection, but still I got a new device here a month ago. I have them all arranged from smartphones to dumb phones, tablets and consoles. The N-Gage is a console, but it is considered a smartphone, seen in Wikipedia. And BlackBerry 8900 is a pretty phone, but it's a smartphone. It's not Wikipedia. By the way, these phones here are in my brother's bed because I didn't want, because I didn't have much space anymore, and I was almost certainly that the other phones won't will fit there. So there's your answer. So without any further ado, this is my phone collection update of September 2023. But let's begin. Starting with my phone, Huawei Y5P. This one works. Here's an LG Maximo L5. This one works, but it's dead. Here's a Samsung Galaxy Core Plus. This one works. By the way, I did not charge on my phone, so expecting a lot of these to be dead. Anyway, here's a Huawei Ascend G610. This one does not work. Forgotten what's wrong with it. Here's a Lake New York phone that also does not work. And badly cracked or water damage. I don't know what's wrong with it. Here's the Nokia N-Gage. This one works, but doesn't have a battery in it. Here's a Samsung Galaxy Young 2. This one is bricked. I also tried to reset it and I failed. Okay, let me shut off this here because it is going to die. Here's a Huawei Ascend Y530. This one works. I think. Nope, not dead. Here's a Ricoh Samsung. I got a case for it. Nothing special, nothing new with it other than I got this case here. Here's the i9 3G. Some of you may know that this is the bootleg of the iPhone 3G, untested. Here's an LG Optimus L4. This one, I don't know what's wrong with it, but it stopped working. Yeah, I think it's in a boot loop or something. Here's Ricoh UFeel. This one works. Here's an LG Leon. This one works. Here's a Nokia 5530. This one works. Here's a Vodafone 875. This one also works. I think. Nope, also not dead. Here's one of my two Nokia's 5800s. Here's a Nokia Lumia 610. This one works, but it's dead. Here's an iPhone 4. This one works, but I can't set it up, and it's also locked. Here's a Huawei P9 Lite Mini. This one, I don't know what's wrong with it. Here's an Alcatel Touch Pop C1. This one works. Here's another Nokia 1500. Here's a BlackBerry Curve 8900. This one only works on the charger. Here's an LA phone. This one works, but it's dead, and it hasn't a charge in half a year. Here's a Bluetooth G1. This one doesn't work. It's water damaged. Here's an Alcatel Pixie 4. This one works. I think this one's dead. Nope, it isn't. Here's a Huawei PLI 2017. This one works, but it's dead. Yeah, this one has a bad battery. Only lasts 3 seconds. Only lasts 10. It can't even last 10 minutes. And I turned off this one. Lastly, for the smartphones is my Samsung Galaxy F22+, the Brazilian phone. Now we are moving on to basic phones, but first let me see if this one has charge. Okay, it does, but let's shut it off. Let me turn it off fast. So let's start with the dumb phones here with my Samsung D1120. This one works, but doesn't have a battery in it. Here's the Nokia 5110. This one works, but it's dead. Here's a Samsung SG X480. This one's untested. Yeah, but you may notice this one isn't in the correct time in the current timeline now. Some of these aren't in the current timeline, I would say. Here's a Nokia 6020. The first one I've tested. It works, but doesn't have a battery in it. Here's a Nokia 3310. I turned the thing as a Nokia Hammer, and it works. There we go. Here's an LG Ultra 100. This one works, but doesn't have a battery in it. Here's a Motorola C350. This one doesn't work. The battery connector is broken. Here's my Nokia Symphony 360. This one works, but doesn't have a battery in it. Here's a Nokia 6080. This one also works, but doesn't have a battery in it. Here's a Nokia 80. This one works. Here's one of my two Samsung Kirby TXTs. I want to say, here's one of my two Samsung Kirby TXTs. This one works, but doesn't have a battery in it. Here's another Nokia 3310. This one doesn't work. Here's one of my three. That's right, 3 Nokia 1100s. This one works, but doesn't have a battery in it. This one's on Telcel, and this is one of the 7 phones that I got in my phone lot. Here's one of my 2 Nokia's 112.8s. This one here is on Vodafone. This one works, but doesn't have a battery in it. Here's a Nokia 3410. This one works, but doesn't have a battery in it. But I think I unlocked these 2 months ago, a couple months ago. Maybe I unlocked these in March. Anyway, here's my Nokia 3100. This one works, but just needs a power button. Here's a Nokia 7110. This one works, but doesn't have a battery in it. Here's a Sharp. I've forgotten, but I think it's a Jax 29. This one's untested. Here's an Alcatel 1046G. This one works, but it's dead. Here's my Samsung Star. This one works. You know, it's not dead. Here's a Samsung E1070. This one works, but it's dead. Here's a Nokia 2600 Classic. I also got this from the phone lot. Fair enough. Nokia 6610. This one works, but doesn't have a battery in it. Like I said on my July 2023 phone collection update, that it uses the same battery as the Nokia Z310. Here's an Alcatel One Touch Easy. This one's untested. Here's a Nokia 2330C. This one works, and I got this one along with the 8310. Here's another Nokia 3410. This one doesn't have a battery in it, but it works. Here's the ZT. I mean, let me just. Here's a Nokia 7070. This one works. I think it is dead. Nope, not dead. It just doesn't have an LCD. Here's a Samsung Monte Slider. This one works. Yep, I think this is one of the most aesthetic phones I have in my collection, because it is pink, and pink is a pretty much aesthetic color. I don't like aesthetic stuff anyway, but if you like, I can handle your opinion. Here's one of my 2 Nokia's 1100s. Here's another Samsung Kirby TXT. This one works. Here's a Nokia 6280. This one works, but it's dead. Here's a ZT Forgotten. Works, but doesn't have a battery in it. Here's a Motorola V980. This one is untested. Here's my Siemens Gigaset. This one works, but doesn't have batteries in it. I had to give I took off the batteries. Here's one of my 2 Huawei G6s. This one works, but I will not turn it on because the MediaTek's low battery sound is a bit annoying, and it has only 1 more flat battery left. Here's a Nokia 1200. This one does not have a battery in it, but it does work. Here's a Mobicom G145. I also got this guy in the phone lot. My only untested phone in the phone lot. Here's a TMN EZ10, I think it is. This one works but doesn't have a battery in it. Here's my Alcatel, Forgotten. And okay, this is an EZDB. Just realized right now it's untested. Here's one of my two Alcatel Maxes. This one's untested. Here's one of my two Nokia C101s. This one. By the way, I have 132 phones. Excuse the background noise. Here's the phone I was talking about today. Is new. This is the Vodafone house phone. I actually don't know the model. It works fine. Here's my Bosch GSM 509. This one's untested. This is one of my two. Here's a Kempf 1.8 Easy. This one works, and it isn't dead. Here's one of my two Motorola Razrs. Another aesthetic phone. Yeah, one of the most popular phones in the 2000s. Just like my Nokia 3310 right there. Is also a popular one. So it's the 1100 and the 5110. Even though the 5110 was made in 1997. And the LG Shine. But anyway, this one works, but it doesn't have a battery in it. Here's my Nokia 3650. This one works, but doesn't have a battery in it. And that is part 1 of my phone collection update.